We live in an increasingly fractured, polarised world where principles and values we took once for granted in Australia are being undermined. Today, the Albanese Labor government gets away with doing things that would simply not have been acceptable in Australia a generation or two ago. Labor may have won the 2022 and the 25 election with only approximately 35% of the primary vote, but that hasn't made the problems Labor created go away. We still have a cost of living crisis, we still have a housing crisis, we still have record immigration, increasing debt, huge budget deficits and declining economic productivity. The Prime Minister's so-called productivity roundtable of his sycophants won't change things at all unless it includes people who understand productivity in business, people like Gina Rinehart, Solomon Lew, Jerry Harvey and Dick Smith. Taxpayers are still forced to foot the bill for subsidising renewable projects in the pursuit of net zero, coupled with rises in our electricity bills of more than 300% over the past 20 years or so.
Before you go, there's something even more surprising coming next. The next clip reveals what they didn't want Australians to notice, and it's already changing the political landscape. Stay with me, make sure you're subscribed.
And more recently, Labor has gambled with our national security. For decades, Australia's defence has mainly been funded by American taxpayers. America's nuclear deterrence has prevented global war between major powers. America supplies us with our military platforms and our advanced weapons. And under AUKUS, America will hand over to Australia the most closely guarded military technology on the planet, nuclear propulsion. Yet our current Labor government is publicly appearing less than grateful for this generous support from the arsenal of democracy. Labor is ghosting our most important ally, the United States, and to all appearances is sucking up to Communist China, Australia's most potent adversary. China routinely commits acts of aggression against Australia, and as if it's entitled to do so, and is not hiding its intentions to militarily and economically dominate our region. America simply wants the countries with which it shares close alliances and democratic values to step up and do some of the heavy lifting by increasing their defence spending. It's called growing a backbone and taking responsibility to defend yourself instead of relying on...
Now here's where things get even more interesting, because what happened next completely changed the tone of the debate, and most people completely missed it. Stay with me, make sure you're subscribed.
What you just heard wasn't just another political speech. It was a complete takedown of the Australian Labor Party and how it's running this country into the ground. And the most shocking part? None of this is even being denied. Let's break this down. You've got a government led by Anthony Albanese that came into power with barely a third of the primary vote, around 35%. That's not overwhelming support, that's not a strong mandate. And yet, they're acting like they've been given full control to reshape Australia from top to bottom. And what's the result? A cost of living crisis that hasn't gone away. A housing crisis that's getting worse, not better. Record immigration levels putting more pressure on everyday Australians. Rising debt, massive deficits, and productivity going backwards. This isn't progress, this is decline, and it's happening in real time. But here's where it gets serious. National security. For decades, Australia's defense has been backed by the strength of the United States. Not just politically, but militarily. From advanced weapons to nuclear deterrence. And under alliances like AUKUS, Australia is being trusted with some of the most sensitive military technology on the planet. Think about that. Nuclear propulsion technology. The kind of capability that only a handful of countries in the world even have access to. And yet, despite all of that, this government is acting like that relationship doesn't matter. Instead of strengthening ties with our closest ally, they're drifting, hesitating, sending mixed signals. And at the same time, appearing far too comfortable getting closer to China, a country that has repeatedly acted aggressively in our region and made its ambitions crystal clear. Now here's the question no one in that chamber wants to answer. Why? Why would any government gamble with something as critical as national security? Because this isn't strategy, this is politics. This is what happens when ideology starts overriding common sense. When short-term political positioning becomes more important than long-term national interest. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And then comes the most telling part of all, leadership. Go back and look at figures like Bob Hawke, a Labor prime minister who understood exactly how important the alliance with America was. He didn't play games with it. He didn't risk it for political points. He strengthened it even when dealing with administrations he might not have agreed with, because he understood something this current government clearly doesn't. Alliances are bigger than politics. They're about survival, stability, security. And right now, that understanding is missing. Instead, what you're getting is a government that talks about values while undermining them. A government that claims to stand for stability while creating division. A government that says it supports national security while quietly weakening it. And here's the reality. You cannot rely on another country to defend you forever while simultaneously distancing yourself from them. That's not diplomacy. That's negligence. And the most dangerous part? They're betting that nothing will go wrong. They're betting that tensions won't escalate, that alliances won't weaken, that consequences won't come. That is not leadership. That is a gamble. And if that gamble fails, it's not politicians who will pay the price. It's the country. Labor walked into government promising stability, strength, and unity. But right now, they're walking Australia straight into uncertainty, weakness, and division. And the question every Australian should be asking is simple. If this is what leadership looks like today, what happens tomorrow?